Okay, so we're in typography for fall 2016, and we're getting ready to work on Project 3, which in Blackboard I have supplied in this week's Week 3 folder for Project 3 a Garamond Pro, which we already have loaded, but if you need it, it's there, and then this thing that says Text for Project 3, NASA, and it's a Microsoft Word document. You right-click on that and then go down to Save Link As, and you will choose, make sure this is an expanded view here, it's not narrowed down like this, but you expand that out. Choose your drive you're going to put it on, so in this case it might be my desktop. Create a new folder, which is down here in the lower right hand corner. I want this mouse to make the arrow big, so I'm trying to make it dance, but down here it says new folder. Create a new folder. Title it with your first name and your last name and Project 3, which I've already done actually, but when you get that new folder button, you can title it your first name, last name, Project 3. I'll just do another one. Now it'll ask me, do I want to replace the ones there? Oh, I have a Project 3 inside my Project 3 now. And then when you create that folder, hit save, and you will save that document to that folder. Okay, so this is just preparation to get ready to use that text in our little project here. This project is 25 points, so it's not a big project, but it's more of a technical exercise, so it's not worth as much because we're not doing a lot of design. Now, we're going to create a new document in InDesign. Hopefully your InDesign is open and ready. If not, make sure you right-click on InDesign and go to Options and tell it to open at Login. If it's not checked, that means it won't open at Login, but make sure the check mark is there. If it's there, don't click on it because that means it'll turn that feature off. So always make sure you have this open at Login because we use it every class period. So we're going to create a new document, and you're going to go to File, New Document, and the keyboard shortcut for that is Command-N, which if I weren't teaching you and I were just sitting here doing it, I wouldn't go to the menu. I'd just hit Command-N. But just for teaching purposes, we have Command-N. We'll show you where it is. Always turn off facing pages unless you're working on a book or a magazine or some other multiple page document like that. So turn off facing pages. And according to Blackboard, this is a 10-inch by 10-inch document. So you want to type in either 60 pica by 60 pica because there's 6 picas in an inch and 10 times 6 is 60, or you can type in 10 IN by 10 IN. So if I type in 60p, that's one less character I have to type in, so I'm a little lazy like that. 10 IN is 4 characters, so yeah, I'm efficient. Actually, I'm lazy. Efficiency is actually sometimes the outcropping of laziness, the byproduct of. Okay, oh wait, hold on. 10 by 10? Yes, I got it all here. It does not tell you the margins in the book, but I do want you to use these margins. First, make sure this link, this little chain, is unlinked, okay? We want the margins to be different for the top, bottom, and side. So your top margin, listen very carefully because this is important. Your top margin is 4 picas, and your bottom margin is 2.5 picas, which is 2p6, not 2.5, 2p6, because there's 6 points in a pica, so that confuses people. People often think 2p5. Well, there's 12 points in a pica. Well, half of a pica is 6, so that p6 is half of a pica. The left column, or the left margin, is 6 picas, and the right margin is also 6 picas. Okay. Yeah, pardon me just for a second. Don't hit OK yet. I'm thinking of another project here. This is actually a letter size document. No? Oh, hold on. Oh, my head. This is what happens when you don't have any sleep. Give me just a second. I'm going to make it letter, and I'm going to see if a 20 pica wide box fits in here very well twice over. So just give me one moment. I actually did this exercise a couple of days ago just to make sure I'd be prepared. And okay, it is a 10 by 10. This won't fit in twice with a good column. So pardon me, folks, for having no sleep last night. I substitute taught for another class, and that kind of threw me off. So make sure this is a 10 inch by 10 inch, 60 pica by 60 pica. There we go. It should look something like this. And you also want to have 2 columns, and so if you've already hit OK and you didn't put 2 columns in there, we do want to have 2 columns. If you still have your new window up, great, you can put 2 columns and the gutter is 8 picas. But if you've already done like I have and you've hit OK and it's already kind of showing you this document, you can still put your columns in after the fact. So I would go to Layout, Margins and Columns, and I'm going to have 2 columns with the gutter being 8 picas. Now, there's method to this madness. I had already done the mathematics to figure out that the book says that we need our paragraphs to be 20 picas wide. So this needed to be a 20 pica wide grid structure, 2 of them. Okay. Now, if you want me to review that, I can do this again. New document, 10 inches by 10 inches, or 60 picas by 60 picas. Take facing pages off. Your number of columns will be 2. Your gutter width will be 8. And your margins are, again, not linked up. They are all different. So they're 4 picas for the top, 2 P6, which is 2.5 picas for the bottom, and then 6 for the left and right. Okay, so that's just a little review in case I confused a few people. So in your new window, it looks like this. Okay. What's that? Yeah, you click OK. You can hit preview if you're not sure. Hit preview, and if it doesn't look like this, then we need to modify it. That's the nice thing about the newer version of InDesign. You can preview a document setup before you commit to it, which it didn't used to be the case. Okay. First things first, we want to put our name in the corner up near the upper right. So grab your type tool and draw a text box and put your name in there, right? Just type it in there. Go ahead and right align it so it's aligned to the grid. You want to try to get used to using the grid structure. Doesn't care. I don't care what font it's in. That's your choice there. But nothing says I don't care like using the default, which is Minion Pro. So I might change that later to something a little bit more exciting. All right, are we ready to begin? We're going to place some text. You guys know how to place text, but we go to File and Place, and we are going to get the Project 3 text. So I'm going to find my Project 3 folder, and I am going to find the text that I downloaded. And I hit Open, and I should get a loaded cursor. Oh, and if it says that the font's missing, it doesn't matter because in the book it tells us to use, what does it say? Well, I'm just going to use Garamond. It says set the paragraph 11/13. It doesn't even say to use Garamond, but we're going to use Garamond. Okay, so I'm going to hit close on this because I don't care if that font is not loaded because we're going to change it anyway. And then I'm going to just click, and it will create a full text box. Don't worry about making this smaller yet. And it will bring in text with pink background because the font's not loaded. So grab your type tool and hit Command A to select all. And let's make this Garamond Pro because that's the font I supplied to you. And it should already be loaded. Make sure, too, that we're using the one that I've supplied to you. So it's the Adobe Garamond Pro. It's not the, now this one is not the one with the S, the T, and the D. This is not one of those S and T and D fonts. The Garamond Pro does not have those letters after it. And it says in the book to set it at 11/13, so we're going to go ahead and do that. There is no 13 in the drop-down menu, so we have to type that in. Okay? Now, we are going to copy and paste this to go down this column 5 whole times. So we already have 1. So what we want to do is select the entire paragraph, And let's see, let's work smarter, not harder. There are some things on this paragraph that we need to fix so that we don't have to do this 20 times over. Okay, so we're going to set the numbers to be proportional old style. Right now they're all tabular, all regular cap height. And I think we're going to go ahead and set these acronyms, NASA, US, and USSR. We're going to set those properly before we copy and paste this, because I don't want to have to do that setting 5 different times. I may have to correct it later. Okay, so do you guys remember how to find the proportional old style numbering so it looks like it's got ascenders and descenders and it doesn't look like capital letters? You guys remember how to do that? How do we make these?
Click some kind of icon up in the
upper right. She's like upper right corner. This little guy right here.
Sure.
Sure, mine's kind of cut off in here, but there it is. That upper right hand corner. Then we go to what? Open type, the very top one. And then these are called proportional old style. So that's 4 items up from the bottom, and we'll automatically make the numbers nice and unobtrusive looking. When you have body copy, you don't want really obtrusive looking characters if you can avoid it. Everything needs to kind of flow really nicely. Okay, so once you have that altered, we will go back and we will fix NASA's, both of the NASA, we'll fix US, and we'll fix USSR. We're going to small caps those. So you want to double click on the first NASA, and there is a small caps button in the control panel up here at the top. You got 2 big T's, which is all caps, and then you have small T's, that's small caps. Now let's click on that and see if anything happens. Well, it stayed large. Now this is, I'm actually sharing with you a lesson that I had to learn the hard way. You cannot small caps something that somebody held the caps lock on and typed in. Guess what we have to do? We have to type in lowercase NASA. When we do that, because lowercase can be converted to small caps, then it works. So you will see that NASA, make sure you spell it properly. Don't get too crazy on the keyboard there. And it's not that you can't spell, it's that they're typos. You guys get crazy on the keyboard. So it's very unobtrusive now. It's the same height as the main body of the letter, the X height of these letters. So we're going to have to typeset, and I'm going to have to grab this NASA. I'm going to have to click and drag for the second NASA because I do not want the apostrophe S to be affected here. So in this case, I'm going to click on the capital NASA. I'm going to type it in lowercase. And then I'm going to highlight that and click on the button that says small caps, which is, again, up here on the control panel. It's a big T, little t.
Is there any difference between just copying and pasting?
I could copy and paste,
okay.
Yeah. Sure could. Yep. Yep. That might be a little bit more efficient, quite frankly, to just go, hey, let me copy this and drag over here this thing and paste it. Yeah, no difference. And maybe more, if it's more efficient, do that.
I just want to make sure one of those hidden caps.
No, there's no hidden thing there. Yeah, thank you for asking about that. Now, US, we are going to have to retypeset this because it's all caps. You know, I can't click on the small caps and have it change to small caps. It doesn't work. So I will have to retypeset US and delete the old one. So let me go ahead and do that. You guys didn't want to do this 5 or 6 different times, did you? So let's do it now so we don't have to do it every time in the text boxes that we're going to copy and paste. And then also for USSR, we're going to have to typeset that all lowercase and then make it small caps. So this looks actually more professionally typeset. And I know it seems like the devil is in all these details, but good typography is all about the details. Now I'm going to go back to what it looked like before, and we will do a little comparison. You do not have to do this. I'm just doing it for comparison. Before it looked like, I should have copied and pasted it. Make that all caps real quick. Before it looked like this, and it looks it doesn't flow as well horizontally. And the nice thing about reading is it's got a good horizontal flow, but that, as small as it seems, it creates unwanted emphasis on things that don't really need to be emphasized because we're just simply trying to read. It's not about a headline here. It's not about a subheadline. It's not about calling your attention to something. We just want to read smoothly and sail right through it. And this actually does slow reading down just a smidge. So this is why we do it this way. Old style non-line characters and then small caps for any acronyms. You're not used to that.
I don't like it.
You don't like it, exactly, because you're not used to it. Welcome to the world of change, folks. In your portfolios, when industry professionals come to look at your work, if you set a paragraph like this, you know what you're going to hear? Your students need to work on your typography, or you need to work on your typography. And they won't define necessarily all these small details because it takes too long. But I know what they're talking about, and you might know what they're talking about because we have had this class together. But yeah, even though you're used to this because you've had years and years of typing, just typing. But we're not, this isn't a typewriter, this is design. So we are now in a new place. So we're going to copy and paste this thing 5 times. So you just, 4 clicks will give you that whole paragraph. Right? You don't even have to click and drag. So copy it, which is Command-C. And then if at the end of the paragraph, if there's no return in there, which right now I don't have a return, you hit return and you paste it. So make sure there's a space between them. And you hit return again and you paste again. So you do this, so there's 5 completely different text boxes, okay? Or not text boxes, 5 paragraphs. And then I probably should save this because I don't want anything to happen to it. So if I hit save, and I'm going to save this as my name again, and project 1. Or project 3. See, guys, I'm so tired. I apologize. Project 3. Inside my project 3 folder. Now, we're actually going to use this again later. So on the second column. So to copy and paste this column to the next column, what would we do that's really quick and efficient? Alt, hold on Alt or Option key, click and drag, and hold on the Shift key while you're doing it so it'll stay in line. There we go. We have now 2 columns. In the second column, we only need 4 of these. So do 4 clicks, click 4 times on that last paragraph and just delete it. Okay? Okay. Now let's zoom in to the first and second paragraph. And let's double check to make sure we have the first paragraph set properly. It's supposed to be Adobe Garamond Pro 11/13. And is this 20 picas wide? Because it's supposed to be. And I look up into the width and it is. That's not magical. I actually did the mathematics so that we would set the grid up properly. And I might actually, I probably should have started out with asking you how we would get the grid in the first place, to be 20 picas wide. So we'll deal with that another time. Now, it's according to the book, I'm going to 4 clicks on the second paragraph. According to the book, they want the second paragraph to simply be italicized. So we're looking at this. This is all about type styles, this project 3. Type styles are the different options you have within the same typeface. So Garamond Pro is a typeface, and all the different styles are bold, italic, and bold italics, and that kind of thing. So this is going to be styled in italics. And the typeface name, we know where to get that. That's in the upper left-hand corner up here. And below that typeface name is the style. Right now it's set to regular, so you want to choose italics on that. Simple, straightforward italics. And save it. This is not a very difficult assignment, by the way. It's going to get challenging a little bit later, but not too. So we're done with paragraph 1 and paragraph 2. They're set in Garamond Pro 11/13, 20 picas wide. The first one is Roman or regular, and the second one is italic. According to the book, they now are wanting us to work on the third paragraph, and they want that to be bold. So the style is bold, so please choose bold out of that drop-down menu. And it's still going to be 11/13. We're not changing point size or leading. And then the fourth paragraph, I just want us to do all caps according to the book. Now, we know that all caps is not something we hold the shift key down or the caps lock down and type in. We know that. Some of you guys, you got dinged on that one. You're going, oh yeah, I remember. I got screwed over a little bit on that one on my project one. So instead of doing that, we just click on the all caps button, which is the two big T's up here. They're above the big T, little t, the small caps, all caps up in the control panel. So I'm up here at the control panel, and I'm going to click on the two big T's. There we go. Now, the problem with this is we don't want to, when you're setting something in all caps like this, don't those old style proportional look kind of weird in that all caps? So what we want to do is on this paragraph, we want to tell this one to not be just not be proportional old style. We want it to be tabular lining. Okay, so that is going to that flyout menu on the control panel, going to open type and choosing tabular lining. That's the letters that are the capital heights. Okay, the same heights of the capital letters. So that's how you change it back, which we haven't talked about until now, I don't think. Okay, so that's open type, tabular lining. Gets those back to all caps looking. Okay. And the cool thing about all caps is it overrides a small cap. So NASA is all caps. It didn't stay small. So that was an easy thing. We don't have to go back and fix that. Thank goodness. And then the last paragraph at the bottom, 4 clicks on that. They want us to set that a combination of caps and small caps, but since we already have capital letters, those will stay capital, but anything lowercase will go small caps. So we just click on the small caps feature in InDesign, which is the big T and the little t right here in the control panel, and it automatically makes everything small caps. And we save it.
I don't have enough space to sum up.
Uh-oh. I wonder why that is, because, you know, let me take a quick look. The problem is that some of you, it may give you the little red plus sign down here, and I need to investigate because you may have a space after paragraphs problem that I'm going to address and share with you how to fix. So let me take a look.
I think I may have. Well, my thing wasn't all the way at the top, so that could have been the problem.
I don't
but just
know.
moved it
Let me
up.
see. Oh, just pull that all the way down to the pink line.
I just moved this one up.
Oh,
so
okay.
maybe
Now,
that
yeah,
worked.
pull that down to the pink line. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, if you don't have all of your stuff in here, maybe it's missing a line of type and it has the little red plus sign like this. The problem may be, I'm going to duplicate a problem here. The problem may be that when you clicked to place the text box, or when we had the cursor loaded when we got our Word document, when you clicked up here in the upper left-hand corner, you might not have been perfectly up in the upper left-hand corner, and there's a little bit of white space there. So you can click on that text box and pull that up to that pink line, which is known as the margin line, and then scroll down and pull the one at the bottom down to the bottom margin line, okay? And then save it. Super easy so far, right? You guys might be able to go home early again today. Look at you guys. I just woke everybody up. Yes, Emily.
On the bold paragraph, I feel like I missed something.
On your bold paragraph, your numbers, did you make them support tabular? Oh, okay, so go out there. Bold, or not bold. Oh, no, bold's fine. Sorry. Ha ha ha! I just caught somebody with some hyphens. Somebody said, hey, mine doesn't look like yours. And I said, and as soon as I walked back there, I saw hyphens in her stuff. And I was like, don't forget to turn off your hyphens, guys. I should not even have to tell you that because that is a given. Uncheck hyphenate. Okay? Aha. So don't forget that because you get points taken off if you do not uncheck hyphenate. I'm glad we saw that, Miss Emily. Because you're probably not the only one. If you uncheck hyphenate, yours should look almost, we should all exactly look like one another stuff.
I unchecked the hyphenate on the first one.
Oh,
So I don't know why it didn't
I don't know either.
carry.
That's hard to say. Well, it's a cool thing is about the hyphenation thing, it's a super easy fix and takes no time at all. Okay, so save what you've done there. Now it's going to get interesting. Before we really discuss how interesting it's going to get, what the point of doing this exercise, at least this column is, and especially when we print it out, it's easier to see. It's kind of to examine the readability of body copy when you set it with different styles. Honestly, the easiest to read will be the regular setting that we did initially. That is the easiest. It promotes quick and easy reading. The italics, it's lovely, but it does slow down reading just a smidge. It is lovely, though, especially if you're doing something formal. Bold for body copy is very unnecessary. You don't want to be talking to everybody like this all the time, so you want to make sure that you're not bolding stuff all the time. Great for headlines and subheadlines, but this might be inappropriate. And then all caps, actually, guys, this is interesting. All caps slows readability down quite a bit. And the reason why is there are no ascenders and descenders. There's no little things popping up. Each word is just blocky. Each letter is kind of the same space, and it slows readability down when you do things in all caps for body copy. You never, hardly ever do all caps body copy. And the same could be said for small caps, even though it feels a little bit more in the rhythm of something that has ascenders and descenders. Like an ascender is like the top of the T, and a descender is the bottom of the G. It makes distinguishing words a little bit more difficult. We don't read anymore. Like if I were to read October today, I don't sit there and go, I don't do that. We see October now as almost like a picture. We see it as, okay, these things together, I know what that is because I've seen it a million times. I don't have to sound it out. And when it's set in all caps, it slows that down because we can't decipher that as quickly. Okay, so this is very interesting typographic science. I'm so nerdy. I'm so sorry if you guys aren't enjoying my nerdiness. But this is why we do this project, is we actually analyze which things are easier to read. And if you did have to use something all caps, if somebody said, hey, I wanted all caps, small caps is actually the better option. It promotes readability a little bit better. So you might want to consider, if you have to use something all caps, to go small caps instead. Okay, let's move over to the other column. Now, I do have an example of this on Blackboard, by the way. If we scroll down on Project 3, you can see I actually did do the project, because here it is. And we're going to examine how to deal with word spacing and letter spacing and how to alter that. Okay, so you'll see in mine on Blackboard that I've tightened up the letter spacing on this bit of text. I have, or the word spacing, I've tightened up the letter spacing, the space between the letters on this one, and then we get to have some fun with a free font later on doing the same thing. So first off, we're going to get your type tool, and in the first paragraph, second column, type in the words tight word spacing. And I might just do that in caps. You can do it however you want. This part, unless you spell it wrong, this part right here is not, I don't really care what you do with that. It can be bold, it can be whatever you want. I'm gonna make mine bold. Now, did you guys get a space right after that between it and the next paragraph? Did you guys have what I have? And you're like, I don't want that. In the example I have provided here, it doesn't have that extra space. And you're like, wait a second, I did not hit the return key. There's no, like I'm putting my cursor between there. Like if I hit delete and return, it's like, why is there putting an extra space in there? And we do not want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to see what caused that. And it's a Microsoft Word issue. When I typed in Microsoft Word, it automatically put it has a default in there that puts space between the paragraphs. So here's what you need to do. In that tight word spacing line of type, do 3 clicks so you get that and the invisible characters. You will examine where to get rid of this spacing. In the control panel at the top, you have the A and the P in the upper left-hand corner. One is for character controls, and the other one is for paragraph controls. We go to paragraph controls to turn off hyphenation, but we also go there when we're trying to control paragraph spacing. Now, if I examine any of these fields up here in the control panel, oh, one has P8. Oh, what is that? Well, let me put my cursor over there, and it says, oh, there's a space after this paragraph of 8 points. Oh, that's what that is. So we just simply highlight that and put in 0. Hit the tab key so it'll move to the next field, and it also makes it stick. Oh, that's what that was. That's an easy fix if you know how to fix it. So we have tight word spacing there. I'm going to copy that line of type, and I'm going down to my second paragraph here on the second column, and I'm going to paste that in there. But I'm going to change this to the word letter spacing. Tight letter spacing. Okay. Now we're getting ready to, and I'll save it. And by the way, when you're in Microsoft Word, it wants you to do this, as letter spacing and word spacing is 2 words. But in the typographic language, we actually put those together with no space between them, and it's really odd, but it's the way it's been done for years and years. So letter spacing and word spacing, technically, when you're talking about a typography term, are not 2 different words. Okay, so let's talk about how to tighten up some word spacing. And I'm just doing this so you know where to go and what to do, but we're going to apply it to something that we oftentimes have a problem with here in a moment. So this is just practice. So if you do 4 clicks on that first paragraph, second column, and we're going to adjust our word spacing, the space between the words, maybe we need to tighten some stuff up. Especially if we have widows. Oh yeah, this is great for widowed text. In fact, let me see if I can make a widow. Nah, not really. So let's just practice with this. In the flyout menu in the control panel, again on the upper right hand corner, you click on that, and there is nothing in here that says anything about word spacing or letter spacing. So this is a hard one to remember. We go down to justification. It's about halfway down, and we can adjust word spacing here. So go down to justification, you'll get a flyout menu that comes up. And this is not the easiest thing to use because it'll start giving you errors if you don't put the right numbers in the right places. So I'm going to do something incorrectly here so that I get a warning or an error because the error is very confusing. So I am going to, I'm going to start with 133 and I'm in the word spacing area. Okay, now here they actually put it in 2 words. But in the maximum, let's say I take that down to 90. And then I go over to the desired, oops, excuse me. Sorry, I'll keep that 133. I'm trying to make it behave poorly. I can't get it to behave poorly. Usually I can. Let's do I can't get it to behave badly. Ugh. This is frustrating. You can. Sorry guys, I'm trying to create a problem because you will have it and then it will confuse you and you'll be like, what is this doing? Yes, you can click preview. So go ahead and click on preview. Yes, she's getting there. What number did you put in and where did you put it?
I got 80, 75, and 133. When I click preview, that's when I got that.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to put 75 in here and hit the tab key. Uh-oh! Yes, the preview has to be selected for this to come up. I'm not sure why it didn't used to be. It gives us this total alien statement that you're like, I don't even know what this means. And you guys don't even read these, let's face it. You just hit OK because they're just a pain in your rear end. But this one you have to read because if you don't, you'll never understand what it means. Invalid word spacing. The minimum, which they're saying this right here is the minimum number has to be less than or equal to the desired number, which is right here. Well, right now, the minimum number is greater than the desired number, so it's not going to let me do anything. And the desired number has to be less than or equal to the maximum, okay? So it has to be, this has to be the largest number, the middle-sized number, and the lesser number, okay? And so if we try to put a number in here, if I try to put like a 90 in my maximum, I'll still get that because that maximum has to be less than or equal to the desired, and it's more than, or whatever. Yeah, it's confusing, but so we're gonna make some adjustments here. I typically will start from the left and work my way to the right, and that solves this problem. So let's just, for kicks and grins, let's tighten this word spacing up to be 50% on the minimum, 70% on the desired, and 90% on the maximum. And then hit OK. Can you still read this paragraph, and does it feel like words are running together and you're having problems? Seems pretty nice, doesn't it? You know, here's what it looks like before this paragraph right here, because it's copied and pasted. This is still very readable. So if we've run into a problem where you have 100 pages and that's all you get, we are printing this book at 100 pages, and you have copy that runs into 120 pages, this is one way to solve that problem. If you do minor adjustments in the word spacing by going to the flyout menu and justification, where to the point where it will not run words together too badly, it doesn't do that at all, then that is one way to save space and decrease your page count. We also use it to kill widows and orphans. You guys are looking at me kind of funny because I haven't talked to you about widows and orphans yet, because I don't have any here. So I'll create a widow-orphan situation so you'll understand what in the world I'm talking about. Okay, I'm going to create one here on this next paragraph. So that looks pretty good. It's very readable. Now, if you did go a little extreme, let's go extreme just for the heck of it. If you went extreme and you took this down to 30, let's do 50, and let's do 65. And I'm going to hit OK. This is pushing it a little bit. The words are becoming close enough together that people may have a hard time, and they may start reading words. It's not horrible, but this is pushing it a little bit. So this is tight word spacing. We haven't changed the space between the letters. We've only changed the space between the words. It's okay if you do it tighter than tight and uncomfortable. I'm okay with that. It doesn't have to be the same numbers I use. Now let's talk about letter spacing, which is a whole different story. Letter spacing doesn't deal with the space between the words. It deals with space between the letters. So let's go to that flyout menu again, up on the control panel on the right-hand side. Go to Justification, and don't change your word spacing. Keep it normal for now. And let's try our letter spacing. Now we're going to use negative numbers here. So let's say my minimum is negative 20. Make sure preview's on. And if I work from left to right, I won't get any errors. However, if I decide to let me put a 0 back in there. If I decide I want to put negative 20 on the maximum, it will give me the error again. Hey, this has to be lesser than or equal to this or that or the other. So I typically tend to go from right to left on this to avoid that crazy stuff. So let's do minus 20. Start with that. That's our minimum. Our desired is minus 15. And let's say our maximum is minus 10. This isn't too bad. But look, I just killed one whole line of type. As the space race, it was hanging out there and become, the original had and become known as a space race. It was one whole line all in of itself. And this was 8 lines of type in the original paragraph. Now I'm down to 7, and it says the same thing. So if, again, you are dealing with something that needs to be brought up there and tightened up, you might adjust your letter spacing. If it's a matter of saving room on a page, because you guys are going to have some challenges later on the semester where I give you body copy and I tell you what size our project is, and you're like, oh my God, this body copy is taking up the whole design and I can't design because it's all body copy. This sucks. Well, this is a way to try to help open up some white space to work in some design. Okay? Now, you could go crazy with this. And we could go to the justification area, and we could do something like minus 75, minus 60, and minus 50. And oh my Lord, you cannot read that. Oops, you can, but not very easily. So the letter spacing is crucial in that you want them tight but not touching, because as soon as you have them touching, this is a little extreme, it does become very problematic. And it does also adjust the word spacing all by itself. So you just get this blah, blah, blah. Now, if I were trying to give the impression that something was crowded and I wanted to get, out of this crowded place, this might be appropriate. Or if you're using type as texture and you just want a textural thing with type, you could do this. Maybe you're just using type as texture as a visual background. But if you want it to be read, this is not appropriate. So let me go ahead and fix that so it's more readable. In fact, I'm just going to hit Command-Z and double check and make sure I have, I got some negative in there. But you can push it a little bit. I might try 40, 20, and 15. And, you can push it till, it still doesn't hurt. They're getting close to touching, but the things that are touching, like the G and the I, they're real close. The E, it's not too bad. So you don't want to go extreme. So we just did tight letter spacing rather. And the word spacing does also kind of modify itself with that, even though we didn't change the numbers. So you want to save that. My Lord, is it warm in here.
What did you do for the first paragraph? So it just has as the space on the last one?
That one, the word spacing, I set it as, your word spacing numbers may be different. So I'll just show you my numbers that I used. And it's okay if yours are different. It doesn't bother me if you have different numbers than I do. What I just need to see in this is that you have adjusted word spacing to be not default. And the default was 80, 100, and 133. How do I know that? I've been doing this a long time. So if it has numbers in there less than 80, less than 100, and less than 133, I am happy, okay? 65 for me. 30, 50, and 65. But you can do whatever numbers you want. Okay? You don't have to be just like me. The world is boring if everybody's just like me. But yeah, you just tighten it up a little bit, and I'm fine with that. You guys can have a variety of numbers there. Okay, now we're ready to work on the last two paragraphs. This is where it gets even more interesting, because this is why we need to understand about letter spacing and word spacing. You guys love your free fonts, let's face it. Don't you? Come on, admit.
Yes.
You've downloaded hundreds of them. But those free fonts, they are awesome, but they're not completely awesome. When you get something for free, you get what you pay for. Sometimes they give you trouble. Sometimes when you go to print, they won't print and they'll default it to printer to something else, because they've built that in there. And there's ways around that, but hopefully we won't have that problem today. But I've downloaded a free font, and I'm going to do another one. To create the one on my Blackboard, I downloaded a certain font. I don't even care what font it is. But I'm going to download some fonts. So we're going to go to defont.com because that's what it says in the instructions. So we're going to go to the internet, the interweb. And we are going to go to defont, DAFONT.com. It's also a link in this week's assignment, but just as easy to defont defont.com. And we are going to try, we want to find a font that's upper and lowercase first off. I know there's some really sexy ones that are all uppercase, but we're going to go for upper and lowercase. And let's say I wanted to do a typewriter font. There's all these typewriter fonts. Okay, traveling typewriter looks pretty badly spaced to me. Man. You can choose any font you want, but the bad spacing, like this is horribly spaced, this old newspaper types. Like, it's nice and tight here, and all of a sudden it gets loose in here and here. Yeah, it's really loose between the S and the P. This is what we're looking for, because most free fonts have really crappy letter spacing, and the word spacing, they haven't even thought about that either. So they've created these beautiful, cool letters, and named them interesting things, and they've created them, they're awesome, but they have taken no consideration whatsoever to what it looks like when it's actually typeset in words that you need to read, like body copy, or even a headline. They don't care. So they don't know to care. So let's say I'm going to grab traveling typewriter. I'm just going to hit the download button. It'll download in the lower right-hand corner. There'll be a little download area. And what you want to do is we want to actually find that and put it into our Project 3 folder. So in the little download in the lower left-hand corner, there's a little arrow next to the name of that little download. Excuse me. And it's like a little flyout menu that comes up. You want to go you want to click Show in Finder, and you want to actually maybe minimize your search engine stuff, and maybe minimize InDesign for a minute. And we're going to put this typeface into our Project 3 folder. Okay, so I have a Project 3 folder. I'm going to drag that traveling typewriter typeface over there. Now it's a zipped file, so just double click on it to unzip it. And guess what we get to do? We get to load it through our Font Agent software. So we're going to open Font Agent. And guess what we're going to do? We're going to create a new set. The favorite thing that you guys like to do. So I'm going to create a new set by going to Tools, New Set, and call it Project 3 Fonts, even though there's just one font. Hit the return key. And then if you right click, I know it won't go into this folder, I wish it would, but if you right click and say Import Fonts, you're going to find your Project 3 folder, and you're going to load the traveling typewriter or whatever font you downloaded. You don't have to download the traveling typewriter. It's probably not all that attractive to you. There's a million other fonts on DaFont that are probably much more appealing to you. And it comes up with a report. You just hit OK. And then make sure you activate those. But before you do, hold down your Shift key, click on however many you have there, and drag them to your Project 3 fonts folder. That shouldn't be what we have to do, but we do. And then activate them. Okay.
Unzip it first. And
Unzip it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't load zipped stuff. It won't unzip it as you load. I wish it would. That would be really nice. You have to unzip them before you can load them through your Font Manager or Font Agent. Any font management software, you have to unzip it. Now, even if you don't load them in a Project 3 fonts folder, I won't know unless I'm looking over your shoulder. If you just load them and activate them, they'll still work. Okay, so if you're like, I am just so sick of making font sets here, which we've only done 3. I doubt that you're too tired of it yet. But if that's the case, then it will still work if you don't create a font set, as long as you activate it. Load it and activate it. Now that font that you've downloaded will be available in InDesign. Okay, now I'm going to look at the example provided in Blackboard because we're going to type a little subheadline above this next paragraph. And in Blackboard, it says, for the subheadline, free font dash before and as is, meaning not altered. Free font before. And then the next one is free font after, and it says adjustments to letter and word spacing. Okay, you can just say free font after, and don't worry about adjustments of letter and word spacing if that's too much to type in. I already know what that's about. I just put that in there so people would know what that means. So we are going to type in here. You know what? And I'm going to copy and paste tight letter spacing because I don't want to have to reset my space after again. Because if I type it and hit return, I'm going to have to change my space after. So I'm copying my tight letter spacing subheadline. I'm pasting it and hitting, and it returns. And I'm going to say free font before. Oops! Now I hit return. It took that letter spacing back in there, or not letter spacing, paragraph spacing. And then free font after. So you can just say before and after. You don't have to type in all the extra stuff. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use the free font in this body copy, and we're going to see how poorly it might behave. Now sometimes we're lucky and it doesn't behave too poorly at all. So I'm grabbing the free font before paragraph, and I am going to my character controls, and I'm going to find that typewriter font I loaded. I just got to remember what it was called. Let's see, that was called Traveling Typewriter. Okay, so I'm going to go find Traveling Typewriter, should be loaded because I've got it loaded and activated. Oh, there it is. I start typing in trav for traveling and it goes right to it. And oh, for sure, we don't want to use small caps in here because it's typewriter, you know, because I have to make some cognizant decisions of typography. And NASA looks really dumb setting small caps if I'm using a typewriter font. So I'm going to turn small caps off and go all caps. So I just click on the word, click on all caps. You don't even have to turn off small caps, just click on all caps. And the same could be said for USSR and for US. Now this is only if you're using a typewriter font. If you're using a different font, you may not have to make it all caps, okay? So you don't have to make it all caps. You'll notice too that these fonts are not professional grade fonts by any stretch of the imagination. You will not have any non-lining numbers. You know, the proportional old style numbers, it won't apply because they don't have those in their glyph set. In fact, they probably don't have hardly any glyphs at all. Okay. Ooh, we have a problem. Yes.
Oh, one of my letters is showing up saying like there's like the pink behind.
Pink box. That's because free fonts don't have every character necessary to typeset something. Is it the quotes?
But like it's just R. And it's just one like.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so highlight that R and maybe type in another R without using, or maybe turn off small caps. I don't know.
It's not on the small caps.
So maybe copy and paste an R from the other part of the paragraph and put it in there. I'm not sure what's going on there. Sometimes it's definitely the quotes. Sometimes free fonts guys are not professional. They miss quotes. Sometimes they're missing a lowercase. They don't have any. Sometimes they're missing like you can't small caps them. It'll just turn all pink. There's all sorts of problems with free fonts that we're learning about right now. So each of you may have different problems.
It won't let me even upload the font into font agent.
Ooh, they don't. Maybe download a different font. That might be a pretty protected font. Even though they're free, some of them do little things where you can't use them. But that's kind of dumb. So I may have to come back and look at that. Try to download a different font and see if it works. And did you unzip the file before you tried to? Okay, all right. I'm going to save this, by the way. I was hoping the word spacing and letter spacing would be a lot worse in this font than it is. This is actually not too bad, but I'm going to tighten up the letter spacing just a little bit, maybe. Yeah, I was hoping this would be a lot worse than what it is for demonstration purposes. I might even look for another. Might look for another one and see if I can find one that's worse managed. It looks like the person who created this one didn't do too bad of a job. Usually it's not the case. So I'm going to load an extra font just to see if I can get something a little bit more poorly designed. Man, they're really doing much better job of late. This one could be tightened up. Okay, so once you get your free font in there, copy and paste that in paragraph because you may have had to change some of the small caps and stuff. Copy and paste that paragraph if you did make changes down to this lower paragraph. If you didn't make any changes, just go to the lower paragraph and make it the same font. So these two paragraphs should look identical at this moment. Now, usually on free fonts, we do have to adjust letter spacing. And overall, it's not poorly spaced except for occasionally, and I'll show you what I mean by poor spacing. In this particular typeface, purposes is not really spaced well. The R and the P are pretty far apart, as are the P and the O. And a couple little other areas, the S and the P in atmosphere are not as close as the other letters, and the F and the L are not very close. Now these are, and the R and the T look a little far apart, and these are, I know you're going, I don't see that maybe, but this is because I've been around typography a long time. The A and the G in engaged are fairly far apart compared to the rest of the letters. That one looks much more obvious than some of the other ones. And now usually it's a problem across the whole entire paragraph. So I'm not going to bother each of these and fix them. What I'm going to do in the after paragraph, make sure I'm in the right paragraph, I'm going to go ahead and adjust, if your word spacing is really wide, which oftentimes it is, go ahead and adjust that. This word spacing doesn't look too bad, so I'm going to just adjust the letter spacing. So you may have to do both word spacing and letter spacing to get this to kind of work better for you. So again, to adjust word spacing or letter spacing, we would do the flyout menu and go to justification. I'm going to set my letter spacing, and I just start with numbers. I don't care what it is. I'll start with something fairly large just to see what it's going to do. And oh yeah, that doesn't look too good. That's a little too much right there. Yeah, that's bad. So my desired at 40% is really too much. So I'm going to have to take this and adjust this. So maybe I make my maximum at 20% and my desired at 25%, and my minimum, I'll do it at 30%. And it's still pretty tight. So this one wasn't too bad off. And even though this is tight, maybe I want it tight like this. I still need to adjust the word spacing on this one if I tighten it up this much. I'm not too thrilled with how tight I've got it. So I'm going to keep adjusting it until it looks good. So it's just, kind of one of these things where each of us will have different numbers here. My numbers for my type won't work the same for letter spacing as yours. But if you click on and off the preview, you can get a before and after sort of look. So when you click on that after, you're like, whoa, that really does seem like there's too much letter spacing. After you click on the after and you've tightened it up a bit, and mine's still probably tightened up too much, but you definitely see how this is affecting the overall flow. So my before looks like this. My after looks like that. And it's still very readable. So I'm going to go with this for mine. Mine's -20, -15, -10. Yours is going to be a whole different situation. And then I'm going to save it. So when we compare the before and the after hopefully looks like it flows a little bit better. This has got a little bit too much space for typeset, computer typeset material. This one, it's tighter, it will flow a little quicker, people can read faster, and it takes up less space. So I'm going to save that. You may want to, if you're having problems with your typeface not having any glyphs like quotation marks and stuff like that, you may want to download a different typeface and see if it does. So you may have to experiment. Because again, if you're using free fonts and I'm like, I want to use a typewriter font on this, it's great. And that typewriter font doesn't have quotations, well, I need quotations. So I need to dump that one and find another one. So it's a real problem using these free fonts. Sometimes you don't want to get too excited about a free font until you actually start using it and applying some typographic finesse to it. Otherwise, you might be pretty disappointed in its outcome. So you'll be like, oh no, I really love that font too. Now, while I'm here, this is not going to be part of the exercise. I'm just going to create a new page. You do not need to do this. I want to show you what a widow or an orphan is, okay? So let me make my page the same layout as I had before. I had 2 columns and 8 picas between them. So let me fix that real quick, and then I'll create a new page. Now I'm going to import some text here, and I'm going to show you what a widow and orphan are so we understand the difference. And depending on which book you use or where you research your stuff, Some people will call the widows orphans and the orphans widows. So either way, the thing is you kill them all. I'm going to insert just a placeholder text. It's going to be like a Lorem Ipsum sort of thing. And I'm going to purposely create problems. I don't even know where one paragraph starts and the other one ends here. So let me indent these just a smidge. Put a first line indent on these. Oh, there we go. Now I know where the paragraphs stop and start. Okay, so I am going to purposefully create widows and orphans. Okay. So this is just a lesson in why we use what we have learned in a real application. This right here that I've highlighted is so sad. This is widowed text. She's all by herself. She's an excessively short line at the end of a paragraph. Poor widow. Well, how do we deal with that? Do we rewrite the copy? No, not normally, because that's pretty well set. You are not an editor. What we can do to kill our widows or orphans, this is a widow. We'll deal with an orphan here in a second. What we do to kill our widow, I'm making an orphan too, is we grab the entire paragraph usually, and I will adjust word spacing or letter spacing till I either put more letters on that line, words, or I get her to kind of be absorbed up into the previous lines. Okay, so I usually err on the side of let's take out a little bit of word spacing and letter spacing to get her up in there. So this is why we need to learn about letter spacing, word spacing. You should not have hyphens. Ooh, I've got hyphens. You should not have hyphens in your text. Oh, darn, I'm gonna hyphenate. Oh, well, there's a widow up here. I'll kill her. Now I'm going to put her down here. You should not have hyphens in your text, and you should not have widows or orphans in your text. When people say in portfolio day, got all these industry professionals coming in, and they say, again, you need to work on your typography. You got to kill your widows and orphans. And my God, what about all these hyphens? They will say that to you. We love you. Your work is fabulous. But why do you have so many widows and orphans? You've got to understand the finer points of typography. You got to kill those things. Kill those widows and orphans. That's a big paragraph there. So all I have to do to kill a widow in this case is I'm going to go to flyout menu. I'm going to do justification. And these numbers are different for every paragraph. So I'm going to start out small. I'm going to do this 75. I'm going to just do 5%. I'm going to do maybe 90 there. And I'm going to do a 1. Oh, there we go. Killed. Don't even have to change it. I just killed the widow. It was super easy. And because I only went in increments of 5 or 10, no one, even myself, I'm a pretty trained eagle eye on typography, no one will be able to tell that you have adjusted word spacing to that degree. They won't be going, your words seem a little tight together. They won't say that because we've only adjusted just a little bit. So we just killed the widow. Yay, kill your widows. Now let's talk about killing orphans. That's worse. That's really bad, isn't it? I'm going to create orphan text. In fact, I'm going to add a few more paragraphs in here just to make this work a little bit nicer. So let's say I have a couple columns of text. And got to create a scenario here. And we have, in these couple of columns, don't worry about the bottoms right now, but we are looking at the second column. I'm going to make an exaggerated orphan here. Poor thing. When you have an excessively, when you have few lines of a paragraph, in this case, one line of a paragraph that falls on a different page or on a different column, and it's broken up from its mother and father text, it's an orphan, and it's sad. It's extreme. That's what I think. To me, being orphaned would be more extreme than becoming a widow, even though they're both bad. So the orphans are more extreme. They're way far away from their parents. And we have to kill them. That's proper terminology, by the way. I'm not making this stuff up. So we have to kill this orphan. And this text is beautifully laid out, so it's clotheslined nicely, you know, the columns are equal, you know, and I'm like, oh man. You could, I suppose, go like this and pull this down. That's one way to kill the orphan. Yeah, I killed the orphan. And then somebody says, oh, but we need this paragraph, we need all this stuff to be the same as, you know, the same line count as the first paragraph. I'm like, oh, okay, well, let me take this whole thing here. I'm going to actually click and drag, which I don't normally have to do, but I'm going to grab several paragraphs. I'm going to click and drag all the way down the bottom. And I might adjust so I create a problem. I killed the widow, and now I am missing a line down here. So now I'm going to adjust my word spacing and letter spacing. So I'm going to put it at the normal, which was 80, 100. Oh, it doesn't like that. Okay, 100. And 80, I have to go backwards this time. And I'm like, well, that's better. Not sure why it's not lining up. Should be all the same leading. Let me make sure they're all the same leading amount. It is 12 over 14. Let me make sure that actually is 14. And make sure, okay, so these should line up now. Oh, now I got a whole other orphan. This orphan is over here on this side. Oh, you poor thing. Well, you just squeeze him out, kill him. Get out of here. Okay. Oh, I got a widow over here. Oh my gosh, because this is the domino effect. I'm like, oh no, I selected all this text and I adjusted the word spacing to try to get this to fit, but I forgot I had already adjusted the word spacing on this. Oh, well, let me go back and fix that. So this is what we do. We go round and round a little bit, and we're like, okay, I think I had that at like 75, and I think I had this at 90, and okay, that's killed. Okay, now I'm just going to deal with these other paragraphs. Maybe I just deal with word spacing. I'm going to hit okay. I'm like, I like this one. I'm going to leave him alone. I don't want to deal with him again. So I'm going to grab these guys. I'm going to adjust the word spacing here. I'm going to make it greater than what it is. So maybe I have a 90, a 110, and a 140. Oh my God, I have a widow again. This is real. You will have these problems in the real world, and they suck. Because you get all this reflow problem, and you got widows, you got orphans, you got to kill them, and nobody's going to rewrite that text for you to get more fluff and stuff in there. So I have to keep working it. So I'm going to go back to justification. And I'm going to now adjust my letter spacing to be 10 all the way across. Oh, the stupid thing gives me this thing. Okay, now I'm going to have to go the other way. If it doesn't work with filling in the right-handed one, then go to left-handed. Oh my God, I finally fixed it. Yay, I can go home. I have killed my widows, I've killed my orphans, and I clothesline my text so it's nice and aligned both on the tops and the bottom. Pay me. Save it. Now you guys don't have to do this. I am showing you why I'm sharing with you this knowledge, because it counts. And just doing it on one paragraph like this or like up here, that's just tasting it. This is a meal right here, honey. This is a big meal. I had widows, orphans, and all sorts of problems. So the reason why I'm sharing this with you and showing you this, even though you don't have to do this part of it, is because I want you to know when it's really applied and why we apply it. We apply it to kill widows, kill orphans, and line up our text. The end.
Is it safe to say if it's considered a widow or orphan if it's like less than half?
Oh, yes, thank you. The question is it safe to say that it's considered a widow or orphan if it's about less than half of the column width? And yes, that is correct. So this is not necessarily a widow because it's about halfway through that column width. But as soon as I delete this word and maybe this word, it's still okay at this. But as soon as I delete this, I have a widow. That's not horrible though. But one word is really horrible. That's not a bad widow. I might tend to leave this one alone. But if I have just one word in here, that's a horrible widow killer. Very good question. Thank you for asking about that. Yeah. When do you discern whether it's a widow or not? Okay. Now, let me say this. I'm actually going to delete my page 2 because I just use that as a reference. And you are ready to print this bad boy. Unless you want to take a break, then you're just going to come back and print, and then I'm dismissing the class. Which would you rather have? Okay, we're going to print it. We're going to package it. We're going to turn it in. You're going to print it, package it, turn it in, and you're going to go, my God, I love this lady. I get to go home again early. Do not get used to this. This is a very odd week because you've gone home twice early. All right.
We're all tired.
I know, me too. I'm exhausted, sweetheart, and I got to be here till at least 9 o'clock tonight again.
God, I've been up since 2.
Oh my God, I've been up since 4 and went to bed at 2. I'm with you. Oh, okay. So let's talk about printing it real quickly. We're going to print to 11 by 17. This is 10 by 10. We have 11 by 17 paper here. Let's just print here. Before we print, I'm going to see if the printer is actually functioning. And I want to let you guys in on the secret because you don't want to blow your money. If you were to open this tray that has the paper at the bottom, and it's got paper in there, and close it, and no warning comes up here asking, hey, what kind of paper did you put in me? It came up. It says, oh, do you have 8.5 by 11 plain white? And I just said, yeah, okay. If that does not come up, it will not print. The motherboard is kind of screwed up on this thing, just slightly. And we have to shut it down and wait for it to all the way shut down. I unplug it, plug it back in, and turn it back on, and then it will act right. There is something on this particular model, and we had 2 of these, where we've learned that that's a problem. So you guys, before you print anything to this printer, come up here, open the tray and close it, and if no message comes up on the screen, there's a power button in the upper right-hand corner. You turn it off. You got to reach way back in there to unplug it and plug it back in. That's hard to get in there and unplug that. And then we turn it back on. Usually I'll be here to do that, but sometimes you're here working before I get here. So that is functioning. So we go to File and Print. And your name is on it. Make sure it is. And we'll use the HP 328 laser one. It's here in this room. That way you guys don't have to run all the way down the hallway. And you don't want to get charged for color printing, guys. This is black and white. So we got to make sure we're careful about that. You will cut this out too. So you might want to take a break right after we print and turn it in. I forgot. Sorry. There's always a catch. Setup would be our next thing. And we're going to print to tabloid on this. And you want to make sure the page position is centered. So where it says page position, upper left, change that to centered. And make sure scale to fit is not turned on. If it is, click just on this width and type in 100%. Okay. Now we are going to go to marks and bleeds, and you're going to turn your crop marks. We don't have any bleeds on this. It's not, some fancy design. So just only crop marks. Do not turn on your bleed marks. They'll confuse you. And then we want to make sure it's only going to charge us for black and white. So go to Output and go to Composite, Gray, and Text is Black. Just checking other things. The other stuff we don't have to really do anything on. And then what I might double check, I might go down here to Printer, down in the near the lower left-hand corner. I hit OK. You want to turn two-sided printing off always, and if you don't see this whole view like this, you don't have the full details, click Show Details. Ooh, wait, Hide Details. When Show Details are on, sometimes it turns that double-sided thing, you can't even see it, so turn that off and then hit Show Details. And I'm going to go to Xerox Feature or Color. I'm going to just make sure there's nothing else I have to change so it doesn't charge me for color, so there's nothing so far. Yeah, everything is okay. I only had to change turning off double-sided. I hit Print, and then, which is in essence hitting OK, and I hit Print again. And then I have to wait for the thing to come up. I don't know why it wants me to publish online. It wants me to do that, but I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to hit OK or yes, and then I'm going to cut this thing out and turn it in. And you also need to package it, zip it, and turn it in through the assignment in this week's folder. So we know how to do that. Package, File, Package, and it'll ask you if you want to save it. Just hit Continue on all this stuff. And then package it someplace where you know where it is. And we can hear the printer going. It's like it's been Franklin's printing press around here. It's awesome. And then what you'll do is make sure that the package folder has been zipped or compressed. So find it and compress it. And then make sure you go to our Blackboard week 3. And this right here, all the details for the projects is in week 3. And you just click on the underlying name, Project 3, and upload your zip file. And make sure you cut and turn in your printout. Okay? And we have a question.
It still says that it's like colored in HP.
What? Okay, it's saying in its color. Oh, let me dig around a little bit. Don't hit OK. Let me get with you because you mentioned it, and I'll see if I can dig and find it because I'm digging and finding no other thing. So let me see if I can dig, and if I find it, I'll tell everybody. Oh, and you guys want to go home. I don't want to take a
Yeah,
nap.
it's still saying color.
Yeah, that's what she's saying too. So closet gray. This is black. Gray. This is frustrating. Ah, I found it. Little stinker. Wait a minute. Let's hit print. Let's see what it gives us. I had to dig for that. Oh my Lord. Yeah. Yep. Okay, we found it. This is digging though. Boy, oh boy, this is serious digging. If you want to be charged 5 cents instead of 45 cents. How much? 30? Oh, see, I'm so out of touch. I don't have to pay for it. Sorry. File, print, and it is in the printer button in the lower, near the lower right hand. And you do have to go to Xerox features, and here where it says paper output, we click on color options, and you click on black and white. Lord mercy, we had to dig for that one. That was dumb, but it is what it is. And then you hit print, and it will charge you 5 cents instead of 30 cents. And I'm sorry that's dumb, but I can't do anything about it. But we did find where to fix it. Again, that was under printer. Hit OK. Make sure your details are shown. Go to Xerox features, and where it says paper output, click on color options and tell it to be black and white. Lord, that bites. Okay, I'm going to stop recording. I probably should have stopped recording a while back. But, you know.